Welcome to Mixdown. Recently we went to Dallas, Texas to visit with Andy Meyer, who has one of the largest vintage drum collections in the world, and recorded a number of them to be turned into samples for drum replacement.
We brought a mobile recording setup with us that included a Digidesign 002 and a 500 series rack of API 512s.
Austin drummer Phil Bass helped us out with performance, and our engineer friend Bill Munyon teched and tuned. Look for our interview with Andy as an extra feature. He's a very interesting character with an insanely large collection of drums. So big, in fact, he had to build a house behind his house for them all to fit in. Hi everybody, today we're going to discuss the technique for miking individual drums for making samples. Matt?
Hello everybody. We'll start out with the kick drum. We have a beautiful 1930s vintage Radio King kick drum. Generally speaking, these you want to keep them very open and real round sounding. What we're doing is we're moving, we've got these stations set up and we want to move things in quickly and get to as many drum kits as we can. So I'm going to use my hands to help me set the mics up. The first mic we have is Sennheiser E602, which is a great cheap mic. I think it runs about $180. And I'm going to put that my fist length away from the batter side. We also have this Yamaha Subkick, which is awesome. It's basically a converted NS10 speaker, and it just picks up the subharmonic wonderfully. And that as well, I'm going to put a fist away. Our third mic, we have a Neumann U47, which is a tube mic, and I'm going to put that out to my elbow. Give her a kick there, Phil. Once we get that in, we'll have Phil play probably 3 dynamic ranges on the kick. We'll have forte, mezzo, and piano. So why don't you show us that?
Now Matt, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
You have a mic on the beater head and on the back head. They're the same distance. Why do you have them both the same distance away from the
Well, because
heads?
I'm more than likely, the way phase works is you think of a big wave, and the wave going up is going to be positive and the wave going down is going to be negative. And so when Phil hits this kick drum head, the first action is this going to go forward. And the first action for this is this going to be going forward. But this mic is catching that going forward, which the wave will go up. This mic is actually looking at it from behind. So if you have 2 opposing waves, they're going to cancel out. So we'll eventually have to flip the phase of this microphone, and having them equal distance just helps out with the phase cohesion.
Let's move on to the most important voice of the drum kit, the snare drum.
Yeah, and it's very true. When you're doing drum replacement, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be doing a snare drum. You're going to be maybe adding one of these in with the snare drum you recorded, or just completely replacing it. So we're going to be putting these into Drumagog, and I wanted to get stereo samples. So the first mic that I'll point out, it's a AKG C24. It's 2 C12 capsules stacked one on top of the other. And if you zoom in here, you can see that we have a little degree here of where the capsules are. So we have it set at a 90-degree angle, and we'll put that kind of flat against here where the 45 is pointing at the shell. So that'll be really our only stereo thing. Everything else will be going straight up the center. As our top mic, I'm using an Audix i5, another real good, inexpensive mic. And same thing again, using a fist to measure the distance. And Bruce knows we've done a lot of records together where a lot of times the reason you want to use these samples is because when you have the whole kit going, you may not be able to get the mic up this high. It's going to get too much bleed. Or you might, so you have to put them in strange areas. So we're just going for the best sound we can get here.
Sometimes addition, just a slight additive, can really change the personality of a sound as well. And often it's used more as an additive flavor enhancer rather than a straight up replacement.
So the bottom mic, we're going to have same way, fist length away from the bottom of the snare drum, and I'm using a Audix D6.
Those are usually used for kick drums.
They are, and it's not, generally speaking, a mic on a session that I'll use on the bottom of the snare drum because it does have such low in resonance, it's going to be messing with the phase of the kick drum. So usually you'll use a very small diaphragm condenser or something like that, but for these we tested out in the studio and the D6 just won out over quite a few different mics. And so getting to the last mic, Bruce's favorite because this is his mic, the AEA R84 ribbon mic. And this one's also fairly reasonably priced. It's not super expensive. It's a newer mic.
The R84s run for less than $1,000.
Yeah. I mean, for a ribbon mic, that's a great price. This is going to be my overview of the snare. And once again, recording live, I would never be able to get these kind of sounds, as Bruce said, to blend into the sound to give it depth, really. We've got our 4 mics, actually 5 if you count 2 there. Why don't you give it a hit for us, Phil?
I'd love to.
How about something fatter?
Oh, you want something bigger?
Yeah.
Well, when we're trying to get the big sound, I usually pull something out like this. Quite a fast sound.
We spent the rest of the day picking out which drums to sample, sending them off to Bill for a tune-up, then having Phil play each one with the 3 dynamic levels. We decided to not only capture the open sound, but also use different dampening techniques, including gels, rings, pillows, and even Bruce's wallet. When it came time to sample the snares, we had over 250 to choose from.
So Bruce, it's the end of our little adventure here up in Dallas at Andy's drum room.
I'm sad.
I am too. We actually really needed a month here. We had a day to do the sampling.
Our expectations needed a little bit of adjusting. Really.
Yeah, I think when I first wanted to get 100 kits.
That's a lot.
But I think we actually got 8 or 9 in the end. But 30 snare drums, and as soon as we get them all cut up and put into Drummergog, we're going to get that out to you folks.
And we'll see you next time on Mixdown.